Hello, friends. My name is Bry. I'm not really much of a YouTuber or, action figure reviewer or anything like that. But I had been waiting a long time for this character to get an update in the Marvel Legends line, so I just kind of wanted to do a quick video, very quick, no editing, no script, very not fancy at all. Just sort of going over them, comparing them, just because we did recently get a new version right here. So the one on the left, this is the 2005 ToyBiz version of Angel. This is the this year, the 2024 Hasbro version. So this, I don't believe in between there had been any other versions of this specific version of Angel. There hadn't been another release like this, to my knowledge. The one on the left did have a blue variant, so it had blue instead of the red. I always used to prefer that costume for some reason. I'm not really sure why. I think like blue because of the sky, but then I sort of realized over time that, the red provides a much better contrast visually, so I've kind of changed my tune on that one. So you'll see here, he's got a bit of a blue wash. So I feel like that probably looked a little bit better on the blue version, but I never had that, so, who knows. Just sort of going over some of the articulation. So again, they both have the double jointed, elbows and knees like this. This guy has them too. These are obviously pinless though, because this is a much newer figure, so that kind of, the articulation mechanism is inside, out of view. These has the visible pins. Not a huge deal. Like, I'm not, it's not the end of the world or anything either way, but it is nicer to have the pinless here. Again, it has pretty similar articulation in a lot of ways. It has, like, the waist cut. It has a diaphragm joint there, crunch. He has very similar. He's got this and this. This isn't necessarily the most up-to-date body, because I know that there is more of an upper torso that's sort of on a ball joint that can move around, and there's also butterfly joints that give a little more arm movement now. And some of the articulation's a little out of date, I suppose, but considering the big wings that are stuck on here, that might have been a necessity. I'm not really sure. So yeah, just to go over that, the articulations, as far as the range goes, I mean, it's obviously this has had some serious upgrades, and it looks much more seamless than this does. This is a little gangly looking and awkward. He's got like the ball hip joints here, and and even on the back where the wings attach, there's these like kind of chunky joints that look out of place. And on the whole, he looks a little more gangly. I mean, for the time, this was incredible. People got to remember, but at the time, this was something else. And it says a lot that the basics of this are still kind of present here. Like, it hasn't grown that much. They've refined it, but the formula is still kind of the same. So the wings here, for example, we'll go over that. Big wings, and they look pretty good. There's good detail. The wash and kind of paint on there is neat. Like, they did a pretty good job of that. I think it looks a little too dirty in my opinion. It's a little kind of like yellow. Like, maybe they've yellowed over time. I'm not sure. And like the darker kind of gray on here, it gives it some depth, but it kind of makes them look more like seagull wings, man, than Angel. This one has, it's got like less, it has a bit of a wash, I think. And, the detailing is phenomenal. The big difference here, again, first off, the back, they plug in here. There's a little bit of a gap there. It's not, terrible. I wish it kind of plugged in a little bit more, but, compared to, say, this on the back, this is definitely a lot nicer looking. And then the other big thing, of course, too, is they fold right out. They're very posable. They got 3 points here. So you can, adjust where you want the wings to be. He can be here sort of standing, when he's not in the air. When he's flying, you can do all sorts of poses. It still has sort of the ability to do the flapping, but it's just, the articulation is just considerably better. And the wingspan on this, it's got to be said, already pretty impressive with this one. Much better here. And I think the look of the wings up here is on the whole better for sure. And these, of course, I mean, they're more basic. They're just big pieces. They can flap. That's about it. Though we'll say, at the time, this guy was part of a Build-A-Figure wave. I believe it was the Sentinel wave. And so he came with all of this. He came with a Build-A-Figure piece, and I believe also a flight stand. So the value on that is wild and, really good. And even inflation considered, figures were a fair bit cheaper back then for sure. This guy, on the other hand, is from a deluxe line. So he's more expensive than even a regular figure, which are already pretty expensive at this point. He's about $10 more, I think. However, considering how cool these wings are, I'm not too upset about that. It's definitely a good upgrade. And, the value isn't quite the same, but really nothing is these days, unfortunately. One thing I can say here, too, is, like, comparing the faces. I always thought he had kind of a weird Brad Pitt look to him here. And I noticed that he had some chipped, paint over the years. Looked nicer at the time. The hair has a bit of a wash in there too. Hopefully the lighting is okay. Yeah, it gives it a little bit of depth. I'd say maybe it's a little too much, maybe. In general, like, the wash on these was cool, but the only downside is sometimes it looked a little more, like, dirty and drab almost. Maybe that's more, like, realistic, as it were, but, I don't think that that's very important, especially for a comic character. The colors on this they just pop. They pop so much better. The red on this was a bit dark. You know what I mean? It almost seems like maroon. And, that's not really how he's supposed to look. I really appreciate the bright red on this. As well, the halo symbol, it's more of a gold. Like, it's gold paint and has kind of a drop shadow effect on there, where this has, like an outline, like stroke outline, and it's, like, more of a bright yellow. I think, like, the yellow, it's weird, right? I kind of like the gold. It's just a bit too dark. This, I would have preferred if it had a little more depth to it, and maybe was, like, not just yellow, but maybe more of a gold. But honestly, like, this does look better on the whole, and I really don't have any major complaints. Yeah, so that's really all I wanted to do, is just give a brief overview. Articulation-wise, I mean, it's kind of surprising how similar they are, but this, obviously, it just looks better. It's seamless. This is, like, a gangly, weird body. It's dated. For the time, incredible. But, it's been 19 years. So, yeah, like, I'm very happy to have this. I've really waited a long time. I wanted to have, like, an Angel in my X-Men display, and, he just doesn't really fit in with the rest. This guy does, so I'm pretty excited about that. I was debating getting rid of or selling the old ToyBiz one, but I don't know. I got a lot of fondness for it, so I might just put it in a box somewhere and hang on to it. Who knows? Anyway, if you were on the fence at all, I would recommend this new guy right here. For sure, if you're a fan of the character, I mean, he doesn't get figures too often. You get Archangel more than Angel, but even then he doesn't. He's not exactly an A-list X-Men character, so he doesn't always get the best representation. But this is long overdue, and I think they did a really good job. He's a very nice-looking figure, and it's really nice to have a new Angel. That's pretty much it. That's all I have to say. I do recommend it for sure. I don't really do much on YouTube, but if you want to check out my podcast, it's Zero Issues Comic Podcast, and it's a weekly comic book podcast, obviously. I do with my friends Kyle Lees and Merck. So zeroissues.com. Check it out.